What's up, guys, and welcome to another video here on the SoFlo Soccer channel. My name is Matt, and today we're going to be talking about Diego Gomez's move to Brighton from Inter Miami. Yes, Inter Miami, the team that Messi plays on here in the MLS in South Florida. And this is a huge deal. This is a huge deal for Diego Gomez, a huge deal for Inter Miami, a huge deal for Brighton, and even for the league itself. And we're going to talk about everything here in this video. So let's get straight into it. All right, so before we get into all of that, let's talk first about Inter Miami's situation in terms of the transfer market and the global transfer market, how they really do in terms of selling players like this, because we have never done this like before. I'm an Inter Miami supporter. I've been a season ticket member since 2020. So I know kind of the ins and outs of the club, of the players that's played here, of the players that we traded, that we sold, whatever. And Diego Gomez is the first deal where we essentially are making money. Like this is a lot of money involved. It's been reported by Fabrizio Mano. It's been reported by Tom Burgard. It's been reported by a lot of MLS news and Paraguay news that this deal is essentially confirmed. In terms of the money that is involved in the deal, it's going between like 10 to 15 million dollars. But the main figure that everybody is pretty much saying on Twitter and in the news around the world is about 14 million US dollars plus $3 million in add-ons, which is huge. It's one of the biggest transfers. It is the biggest transfer that Inter Miami has ever made, and it's 100% worth it with somebody of Diego Gomez's caliber. He is an amazing player, very, very young, already participating and playing first team football for the Paraguay national team. Has played in the U23 in the Olympics, and he is an amazing player for Inter Miami. So in the past, Inter Miami played their first season in 2020, and we tried to sign big name players, especially younger players. Of course, we had the likes of Pepita Higuain, we had Matuidi, we had Pizarro, and those were our big name players, our superstar players, our DPs. Now, for our younger players, we tried signing players like Matias Pellegrini, we had Julian Carranza, but they never really became of anything. And Matias Pellegrini has barely touched the field in an Inter Miami shirt. Julian Carranza was the same situation. He was the shadow of Pepita Higuain, and then we would trade him on to other clubs. Like Julian went to Philadelphia Union. He absolutely killed it, and now he's going to be playing in Feyenoord next season. I mean, and with Inter Miami now, we've acquired players like Facundo Farias, we have Fel Toto Aviles, we have Federico Redondo, even with players like Benja Cremachi, who is coming up from the academy. We have Yannick Bright and Leo Afonso that we acquired from the Super Draft. So we're doing a lot better in acquiring younger players with a lot of potential. We just have to actually develop and sell them for better profits. We acquired Diego Gomez last year. He had a pretty slow start to the year last season, and then this season he's really, really picked it up. He adapted very well to our club. He adapted very well to our tactics and our play style, and I think that he's going to be a really, really good fit for Brighton. Diego Gomez has always had the intention of going to Europe. He said it in press conferences before that this is just a stepping stone for his path to Europe, and we all knew he was going to go to Europe at some point, especially this season when he's been just popping off. It was only just a matter of time. He's been linked with West Ham. He's been linked, obviously, with Brighton for a really long time, for a couple months now. And finally, he's going to get his opportunity, his shot in Europe and in the Premier League of all places. And from Inter Miami's perspective, I know like they're losing a big player. They're using a young player, a prospect, somebody who could really, really help the club in long term. But however, this really, really boosts our reputation as a team in the MLS and around the world. I mean, Messi has already given us a lot of exposure joining our club and making it just well known who Inter Miami is, putting just MLS and Miami on the map. And I think Diego Gomez, with that price tag as well of 15 million or 14 million dollars, is really, really going to help us a lot, because a $14 million deal coming out of the MLS and going straight to the Premier League is almost unheard of, and it just never happens. On top of that, the fact that it's Inter Miami, the fact that it's Messi's team, and everybody just really knows who Inter Miami is, it's just really, really going to help us a lot in terms of reputation, which means we can get better players, younger players, older players, et cetera, as well as, you know, just higher fees, essentially, when it comes to selling players and developing players. This could really, really help us in the future now. But it was reported when we did receive Diego Gomez last season that Libertad, the club that he played for before us, is going to take 50% of his fee. So if we do sell him for, let's just say $15 million, they're going to take seven or eight, 7.5, which it still isn't bad. Even if we do keep $7 million, I mean, that it really, really helps us a lot. And now on top of that, we're going to have, you know, multiple international roster slots for next season. I think Inter Miami are going to be making huge, huge moves with that money, with those slots available. Inter Miami are honestly on the rise, not just in the MLS, but in the global market as well. And I think what's the best part about this deal for Inter Miami as a club is that Diego Gomez will be staying here for the rest of the MLS season, which, if, for those of you who don't know, who don't follow MLS, the season runs, preseason starts in February, the regular season starts in March, and then the season runs up until like November, depending on how far you get into the playoffs. So Diego Gomez essentially will be here until the January transfer window, where he will then move to Brighton. Like I said before, he was linked with clubs like West Ham and things like that, and obviously Inter Miami are trying to keep Diego Gomez because he is such a crucial player to us. He is an important player to our run for MLS Cup, the Supporter Shield, for Leagues Cup. So it's very important for Inter Miami to keep him, and they wanted to keep him, and I think that's what they've been trying to push for clubs who've been interested in him, excuse me, like West Ham. I guess that's why it really helped, Brighton get the deal done, because they didn't mind keeping him here in the MLS until the January transfer window, which is amazing for us. It's an amazing deal for the club in terms of money, in terms of keeping him until the end of the year, in terms of exposure, and all of the above. So overall, this is a 10 out of 10 deal for Inter Miami. Now, switching over to Diego Gomez, like how good of a deal it is for him, like what his play style is for us, and how he could play for Brighton. For us, he's an absolutely amazing player, right? Like I've praised him in the past. I do Inter Miami podcast. If you guys want to check that out, I go live talking about Inter Miami pre-game, post-game analysis and news. So if you're interested in that, check out the Brighton Haven podcast playlist. But yes, for us, Diego Gomez is a very quick, very physical, very technical player. He is very good both on and off the ball. His movement, his physicality, the way that he can get up and down the field is very, very crucial to our style of play. Tata Martino, our head coach, plays him a lot in the left wing, and that was before he was playing Robert Taylor there a lot, but he does play the left center mid position very, very well, and that is probably the best position that we can play him in. That's if Robert Taylor is on his day, but that's a whole different story, right? You can consider him a center attacking midfielder. You can consider him just an attacking midfielder, a box to box. I think he does well, in all three of those positions. He does really well in getting into that final third. And I think a player like Diego Gomez would fit right into a Brighton team that is free flowing, it's very attacking minded, and then with a new manager in Fabian Hertzler and them making more moves in the transfer window this summer, I think Brighton are going to be really, really good this year. And it's a nice segue to see the bright side for Brighton, right? Like Brighton are very well known for identifying and even developing young talent. I mean, like they just signed Valentin Barco as a left back position. He's one of the brightest prospects for Argentina, and now they have Diego Gomez. They used to have McAllister last season, so they really are good in developing these young players. So I think adding Diego Gomez to that project, to their team, is really, really going to benefit them, especially long term, whether that's making money or whether that's, challenging for top six or for Europe in any sort of way. Diego Gomez will definitely be involved very, very heavily. Now, the only probably downside for Brighton is that Diego Gomez will probably have a window, a very brief window, but a window regardless of just adapting to the Premier League, right? And it's fair enough, right? Like fair enough, like you have to adapt to one of the best leagues in the world, and going from MLS to the Premier League is a huge, huge jump. It's a completely different playing style, right? Completely different environment, and Diego Gomez is going to have to adapt to that. And now, since that he is going to be joining in the January transfer window, he's going to have that 6 months to adapt, get to learn the playing style of Brighton, or just adapt to the style of the Premier League. And then hopefully that in season 2, he'll do a lot better, right? And so that's why I say it's kind of a downfall, because he's not going to, at least I think that he's not going to be hitting the ground running when he joins Brighton. But I think regardless, he's still going to be pretty impactful, maybe even off the bench. And then in season 2, I think he's going to do really, really well. And just to kind of wrap up this video, I mean, I also said that this is going to be very huge for the MLS just in general as a league. And it is, because it creates a lot of exposure for not just for Inter Miami, but just for the MLS in general. I mean, with a price tag like Diego Gomez, this is one of the highest transfers that is coming out of this league, and especially going to the Premier League. It just really puts them on the map. A lot of people make fun of the MLS, saying that it's just a farmers league or just a retirement home. And whether there are a lot of players that from Europe that go to the MLS to retire, it's also a league that is still in development. It's a very, very new league that people have to remember. And people have to understand that the fact that we even have players like Diego Gomez, we also have a lot of other young prospects like Kevin Sullivan going to Manchester City. And then we have a lot of just youth players going from these youth academies in the MLS and going straight to Europe, whether that's in the Premier League, whether that's in Serie A, whether that's in the Netherlands. They have a lot of connections. So the development in the MLS is continuing to improve, and I think people really have to keep an eye out for it and stop underestimating it, really, and stop talking smack on it. And it may not be at the same level, right, as the Premier League, as La Liga, as Serie A, but I think people have to treat it more like maybe like a Portugal or like a South America, where they just train and developed younger players to then move on to bigger clubs. But yeah, that's what my thoughts on it. I just wanted to share that news with you guys, because I do a lot of Inter Miami content on this channel. So for those of you who enjoy that, this is for you. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, leave a like down below and leave a comment. Do you think this is good for Inter Miami, Diego Gomez, Brighton? the Premier League, MLS. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. I will be going live later this week talking more Inter Miami news. And for the upcoming Leagues Cup game, I believe it's this Thursday, we're going to be playing Toronto FC, and we're going to be hosting that game as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you are new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.